What the hell was the head of FBI counterintelligence doing in London, where the current CIA director, Gina Haspel, used to work, on the same week George Papadopoulos was framed for a collusion hoax with Russia based on a meeting with an Australian diplomat? What was she doing? What was he doing over there? So there've been some breaks in the Spygate case I wanted to get on the air today and talk about because they're really important. You know, I really adore Maria Bartiromo from Fox. She is one of the few true journalists left who has done some real homework and digging on the Spygate case. She's known from the beginning. She has impeccable sources. And I suspect some of her sources, maybe some of my sources, or vice versa, whatever. It doesn't really matter because I'm hearing the same thing she is. She did an interview with Jim Jordan. I just want to play the first half where she mentioned something critical because this is what I'm hearing too. Let me get the bottom line up front. Everyone knew, ladies and gentlemen, everyone knew that this collusion hoax from the beginnings of 2016 was a hoax and that Hillary had made it up. Everyone knew. The real scandal here always is not that the information about Trump colluding with the Russians was fake. Everybody knew that. And Maria Bartiromo brings up a great point in this piece. That's what political opponents do. They make up fake stuff. Please don't send me nasty grams. I'm not justifying grotesque Hillary Clinton's horrendous, disgusting behavior. There may be some criminal liability from people in her campaign too. I'm not sure. I'm simply suggesting to you the scandalous part of this, if you had to rank them, is not just that Hillary's a loser, we know that, and that she was going to make up a collusion charge. It's that the FBI went along with it and weaponized themselves to help Hillary do it. That's on the top of the totem pole. Maria Bartiromo knows this, so she brings up 2 points in this cut I want you to listen for. Number one, that she knows everybody was read in, that this collusion thing was a hoax and that Hillary made it up. Number one, huge point. And number two, our current CIA director, Gina Haspel, what the hell is she up to? Remember where she was before this? She was over in London with the CIA in London while this whole Spygate scandal was going on. That's an important point. Listen to this cut. Listen for those 2 takeaways. I'll explain why they matter in a minute.
Look, you can't say that Hillary Clinton should go to jail for this. It's not that. This is the FBI. Anybody could say anything about their opponent, and that's what Hillary Clinton was doing. But the fact that the FBI was complicit, that she was able to get the U.S. government intelligence agencies to work with her, and we know that the CIA and the FBI were both involved in trying to take down Trump. What do you make of these sources telling me and also telling the Federalists that current CIA Director Gina Haspel is trying to stop any more declassification of documentation? Remember, while Brennan was running around trying to come up with stories against Trump, she was running the CIA in London.
So she knows what I know. I think, again, some of our sources may be the same. There are apparently a treasure trove of documents that whistleblowers, finally, people in the intel community came forward and have pushed in front of certain lawmakers and other people's eyeballs. This is new information, ladies and gentlemen. So for those of you in the past saying, where were the whistleblowers? Where were these FBI or CIA people that knew this was going wrong? The answer is, I don't know. Why they didn't come forward sooner, I don't know. It was their patriotic duty to do so. The bottom line is apparently some of them are coming forward now. There appears to be an evidence trail, paperwork, actual paperwork indicating this. Big takeaway here. Brennan and the FBI leaders, Comey and them, knew. Obviously, Clinton made up the collusion hoax. Brennan apparently covered his tracks. There's apparently a bunch of documentation that Brennan was trying to pass the buck to the FBI. He knew the collusion hoax was fake, but was seeding it like he was watering a plant, and then constantly passing the buck to the FBI saying, hey, it's not my job to investigate this domestic stuff. It's yours. So Brennan, what I think exists out there from my sources is a series of information that acts like the Susan Rice email, that Brennan wrote some documents that act like that January 5th Susan Rice email she wrote to herself, right before the inauguration, where Susan Rice wrote to herself in an email, hey, Obama told us to do everything by the book. Remember that? There appears to be a series of those that Brennan did as well, where Brennan wrote, say, documents trying to cover his own butt, knowing he was advancing the collusion hoax, knowing it was fake, but passing it off on the FBI. Does that make sense, Paula? You sure? All right. I need my, I always need an ombudsman for the show because I don't know if I'm explaining it well. So that's number one. What's that? Yeah, is your thumb? Yeah, did that get in the screen? The thumbs up. Did Paula's thumb? Some of you don't believe she actually exists. Paula's thumb actually made it in the screen. That's very nice. So that's it. There you go. Thumbs up. Apparently, there are actual documents that I'm hearing are not smoking guns. I'm hearing they're nuclear bombs. That there's no spinning them. That they basically admit to the conspiracy. Hillary's making this up, this collusion hoax, and that there are notes in there indicating they knew it was made up. Brennan pushed it anyway, but then pushed it off on the FBI. Say, hey, it's not my responsibility. You guys have to investigate this domestic stuff. You dig? Brennan appears to have covered his tracks a bit. We'll see what that means in the long run. Again, my information's good, but in many ways limited because of I'm obviously not on any of these committees and I don't have access to the classified documents. But my info, I've never let you down with sources, right? Now, part two of that. So that's part one. I think me and Maria are hearing the same thing, that the documents underlying John Ratcliffe's letter are absolutely devastating. Part number two, Gina Haspel. Gina Haspel is this current CIA director. I'm hearing she's in the way. That the people who've seen these documents and the evidence that everybody knew this was a scam from the start and that Brennan tried to push it off on the FBI, that the declassifications are being blocked by Gina Haspel in some way. She doesn't have authority really to do that, but I'm hearing from someone, Paul Sperry put this out in a tweet, that there may be a gray mail situation. You know what gray mail is? It's like blackmail, but it's gray. That people in the intelligence community may be saying, you really wouldn't want this to leak out now, would you? Because if this leaked out, it could damage national security. And you wouldn't want to be accused of damaging national security before an election, right, Mr. Trump? You get it? You dig? The problem is it wouldn't damage national security at all. This is a threat. I'm hearing from sources that Gina Haspel and her CIA are getting in the way here of a declassification. Now, why would Gina Haspel from the CIA be interested in making all this information go away? Remember, it's very simple. Hillary made it up. Brennan knew she made it up, passed it off to the FBI, who investigated a made-up collusion charge just to hammer Trump. Don't ever forget it. Bottom line up front is super simple. Well, why would Haspel get in the way? Well, Haspel was a CIA, was one of the head CIA officials and was in London as all of this was going on and being formulated. Now, why does that matter? Because, ladies and gentlemen, this whole thing went down in the beginnings in London. George Papadopoulos, the Trump campaign advisor at the time, he was a low-level guy. But the FBI alleges this whole case started about fake collusion because Papadopoulos met with an Australian diplomat in a bar in London and said that basically the Russians may have some kind of dirt on Hillary. That meeting happened in London. The date is important. May 10th. You following me? She's following. Thumbs up again. Where's the thumb? We need to see the thumb. Where is it? All right, thumb. There you go. Thumbs up. May 10th, London. The whole thing's alleged to have begun when Papadopoulos says to Downer, Papadopoulos from the Trump campaign, hey, the Russians may have dirt on Hillary. Of course, that whole conversation is disputed. Well, what else happens in the United Kingdom? Well, what's really fascinating about this is Christopher Steele, who wrote the dossier alleging the collusion between Russia and Trump that Hillary used. He used to be a UK agent. He worked for the UK intelligence services. There's another interesting angle, no? But here's where it gets really fascinating. Let me show you this article from The Guardian. Check this out. Again, this is not a conservative newspaper here. This is The Guardian in the UK. Wrote this article. British spies were first to spot Trump team's links with Russia. April 13th, 2017. It says that the GCHQ, which is a British intel agency, is said to have alerted U.S. agencies after becoming aware of contacts in 2015. So just follow me here. Maria Bartiromo and others, me included, are hearing that the current CIA director, Gina Haspel, is blocking declassification of information that would blow the Spygate thing wide open. How they framed Trump for a fake collusion charge. Gina Haspel was in London as the framing happened. The framing started with George Papadopoulos in May of 2016. The British newspapers are already reporting that the British, where current CIA director Gina Haspel worked, were reporting on Trump's activities on as late as early as 2015. The spy they used to fabricate and give the framing collusion charges, sorry, did I just say that? Well, Joe, you're gonna have to bleep that out. The bull blank collusion charges that they, in fact, used a UK agent. Mark the time on it so poor Joe can beep that out for the radio. Steele was a UK agent. The Guardian knew about this the whole time. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. I want to show you an email, and I want to give a big, huge hat tip to our great friend on Twitter, Undercover Huber, who does some of the finest investigative work out there. I actually retweeted this today because this thread is going to become very important very fast, according to my sources. So Papadopoulos meets Downer on May 10th. The current CIA director was in London at the time. Papadopoulos meets Downer in London. This is where the frame job begins. Who else was in London on May 10th? Let me show you this email from the number one official in the FBI. He works right under Andy McCabe and Comey for counterintelligence. His name was Bill Prystep. Where was he the week of May 10, 2016, when this framing was begun? Oh, look at this. Look at his email from Prystep, EW. Counterintelligence Division, FBI, writing to Andy McCabe about mid-year exam. Sir, I will be out of town next week, and so I wanted to provide you my initial thoughts. Sent Friday, May 6th, 2016. You may say, all right, Dan, kind of a reach, right, Paula? That's what you're saying? He said he's out of town. He didn't say he was in London May 10th when George Papadopoulos was framed in order to advance the collusion hoax everybody knew was a hoax. No, he didn't in that email, but someone else did in a text. Of course, I always produce the evidence, so let me show you that text. Look at the date on this one. Oh, May 4th, 2016. Peter Stroke, who worked directly under Bill Prystep. Hey, going back to that memo, he texts his girlfriend this. Going back to that memo, just remember Jones wants something soon, tonight or tomorrow. I don't know if Bill will read it before he gets back from London next week. You like that? Yeah, I rarely get sound effects from Paula. She was like, ooh, well, that's a whole different thing. I'll have to leave that for a weekend show. But still, you get my point. What the hell was the head of FBI counterintelligence doing in London, where the current CIA director, Gina Haspel, used to work, on the same week George Papadopoulos was framed for a collusion hoax with Russia based on a meeting with an Australian diplomat? What was she doing? What was he doing over there? You're going to tell me with a straight face Gina Haspel didn't know about it? Ladies and gentlemen, give me a break. It all went down in London. I've been telling you this forever. The British were onto this. They know they're onto this. They were been involved in this in the beginning. Haspel knew about it, and they're blocking it.
You just heard Dan Bongino.